Hello again! Cinematic will talk with Chris, returning for another exciting episode of Franchise Frenzy. Last time we covered the birth of sequels, known as Part 2. Now, if you were wondering if 2 was good enough, or perhaps you wanted more, well, there you go. Because this month it is all about Part 3, as I'll be taking a look at the third films. Army of Darkness from 1992. The third and final entry of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead trilogy picks up where Evil Dead 2 ended, as fans wondered, what in the world is Ash doing in the medieval times? And so, we follow his journey in that era. It's wackier, less gorier, meaning perhaps the most tamed in the trilogy, but still a horror-com nonetheless. And this was my introduction to the Evil Dead trilogy, and I had so much nostalgia for watching this entry, as with Evil Dead 2, speaking of. Funny how the trilogy has evolved from a horror fest to more of a slapstick fest. Yet, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness have the most redeeming watchability, enough to keep me laughing and holds for the most highest in this. But honestly, I do love the original, which was more of a horror fest, flat out serious, but all three are solid cult classics, in my honest opinion, as my brother still adores the entire trilogy to this day. So, pretty much not much else is to be said on Army of Darkness, other than it's awesome and funny, of course. Up next on number 2 of the top of my list is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors, from 1987. After the controversial Freddy's Revenge, New Line decided to also bring back Nancy Thompson, where she helps other teens in distress at a mental institution where they're being attacked by Freddy once again. Yet, some of those teens happen to have special abilities in lucid dreaming, but are they any match for Freddy? Wes Craven co-writes this fan favorite of a sequel, featuring more unique nightmares than the first two films, only this time set at that institution, which just sounds just about rightfully crazy. Plus, features plenty of likable characters played by familiar faces and future names. And that epic theme song by Dokken. Always had fun watching this sequel countless times whenever I binge on the entire franchise every few years or so. I mean, good stuff there. And before I forget, this sequel adds a splash of humor into the film's storyline, both in a darkly manner, but also a lighten up at times. You know where this franchise might head to up next? And did you know that one of those future names had dealt with another Dreamstalker in the film Bad Dreams, just made about a year later? Fun fact, though. Rolling on to Alien 3, also from 1992, at Birthplace. Originally intended to be the conclusion to this franchise. But another film came along, which we'll discuss in another time. Meanwhile, another favorite of mine I grew up watching. I know this one it wasn't what they expected, but there is something special about it, to which I like to say that its extended cut changed the way how I see the film, while having to embrace it better and began learning about its troubled history. It's sad to say I can see why David Fincher refuses to even believe he made Alien 3, since 7 redeemed his career. Taking place on a all-male prison planet and having the new alien come out of a dog or ox both seem like some cool concepts to me, in my opinion. Yet, there is much to be desired on certain spot the film has. But still bleakly entertaining all the way. I could go on discussing more. However, I'll have to leave at that for now. I highly recommend seeing that extended cut, whether it's your first time seeing Alien many times their whole life. Speaking of Alien, we have Alien vs. Predator from 2004 at number 4 on this episode's list. Again, another film that gets hated on, but I still personally think it's a good old thrill ride every time I watch when I see Alien meets its match with the Predator in this crossover. Not another Predator sequel was made in between the next 2 decades, so Fox decided to bring both icons battling together on the big screen, outside comic books or video games. And the result took place at a Mayan temple located in Antarctica. Odd saying, eh? I thought so. And Paul W.S. Anderson directing this? Even odder. Besides, I will be returning and discussing more on Alien vs. Predator in a future episode. But above all, still one of my guilty pleasures. Okay, at number 5 on my list of next is It's Alive 3, Island of the 11. Larry Cohen concludes his saga of those killer mutant babies as he decides to place them on a desert island where they can roam free and grow up. As for no longer being a danger to society. That is until Michael Moriarty has to find his son there. Recent first time viewing this one, as it might be my favorite of the entire trilogy, if not the first film. And this time some satire is tossed in to the mix, as mutant babies look like all grown up. They're much more menacing, and gross tech is the word. What happens next is kinda cool, but is it actually the last we'll ever see of those killer mutant babies in this film? Just watch it for yourself.